Hey you guys, my name is Maria. So this video is basically a continuation of the recent Goodwill trip I did. I had a few things on there that I wanted to DIY, but I didn't have the time to do it on there. So we are going to do it in here. The first one, I'm going to redo a pedestal that I wanted to turn, I think it's a pedestal. I'm not exactly sure, but I wanted to turn it into the base for a cloche. The next one is a vase that I found that I absolutely loved that I decided to turn into a vase or DIY it into a vase that I've seen in videos of Temu. And then I also have a pot that I've had outside for a while that I've been trying to DIY. So I wanted to make a mosaic on it. But the problem was I didn't have the dishes to do that with. So I just recently went to the Goodwill to see if they had something. I found these. So I found these plates, and I think that they're really pretty. I love the blue and the white in it. The design is cute. It's not really my thing, but I really wanted to break this up and put it on the base, the pot, whatever you want to call it, because I have some old dishes from my husband's late grandmother that we can't really use. However, if I break them up and use them as a mosaic for this thing, I still have extras of this just in case. So I wanted to do that while I have the chance, so let's do some DIYs. So in 2 videos ago, I went to the Goodwill and I found this, and I thought that it was absolutely perfect, especially for what I wanted to use it for. I used 2 coats of the Rust-Oleum matte brown paint to give it a beautiful rich undercoat. And then I used this metallic type paint to just airbrush on there to bring out more of the detail. At first I used the copper one because I wanted to blend in more with the brown, and then as you're going to see, I used the golder one because I wanted to bring out some more of the detail of this pedestal. So when you see the final result with the cloche on top of it, just realize that I did have to get a bigger cloche because this one was far too small. So when you do see me decorate for fall, I will have a bigger cloche that looks a little bit better. So the reason that you're not seeing the video of it coming from Goodwill is because I accidentally got rid of that video. But you do see on here that I am using air dry clay, and I wanted this vase to look like the ones that I've seen on the ads for Temu because I thought that they were so beautiful. So I put a little bit of cooking oil on the molding so the clay would not stick to it, the molding that is, and then I put it onto the vase. That way it could dry and bend to the vase's shape a bit better without cracking. Right here, I'm just trying to push it down a little bit. That way the clay will take on the shape much better. So when it's dried, everything's going to be completely aligned. So I'm adding quick grip glue to the clay and then putting it right onto the vase. And I want to use this napkin and the painting tape. That way I could kind of secure the clay onto the vase without it constantly coming off. The quick grip glue is supposed to adhere right away, but I just wanted to give it some security.
So as you can see, I did add more detail to the bottom, and I'm really happy that I did that because I think it added that extra touch that I wanted. And I'm using a primer, so that way when I use the paint, I won't have to add a lot of layers of that just because of how dark this is. I did add 2 layers of primer, and I thought that that was perfect, especially with how dark the base originally was. So throughout painting this entire thing, the only hard parts was painting around the detail for the clay because I was so afraid that it was going to chip off, which in all honesty, a few places it did, but you really can't even see it in the end. But I was trying to be very careful around the detailed area with the clay. So I know that this might seem a little bit strange, but I used a sandpaper pad to remove or sand a little bit of the primer where it looked like there was like drippage on it, because other people in other videos had used sandpaper between each layer of primer and paint for their furniture. So I figured, you know, why not? So I used this Colonial Ivory spray paint on here, and you guys, this was the perfect color. I'm so glad that I had this already in stock. And I used a few coats on here, a few layers. As you can see, I taped off the bottom, and I used this metallic Rust-Oleum gold paint to do the bottom part where all the detail was. I do also use it on the handles where that detail is. So I got these transfers from Amazon, and I thought that would be perfect for this vase. They are linked below, and I liked how big that they are, but you will notice how when I tried to transfer them onto the vase, it was a little bit harder. I struggled a little bit with putting them on, but in the end, I did get everything on. It's just if you decide to do this, realize that you are going to have to hold it down really well and really scrape the design onto the surface, because especially with the rounded area, it's not as easy as you would think. So I decided to put a gold rim around the top of the vase to make it look more classy, I guess you could say. But the paint that I was using wasn't doing the job that I wanted it to do. So I ended up using Rub and Buff, and as you could see, that was the perfect addition. It basically chef's kiss to that because it coated it very well and it matched the color of the other gold really well. Then I used a Waverly wax to get in between the detail on the clay parts, just so it would bring out the detail of it a little bit more. And honestly, this turned out to be exactly what it needed. I did wipe off the excess parts just because I wanted the wax to be in between everything. So I do recognize that looks like a spring or summer vase, but it is going to be used in my fall decorations when I do that. So look forward to that.
So you guys, on to DIY number 3. I have been wanting to do this since last year. I think it was last year, but I'm really excited because let me show you what I'm going to be using. So I thrifted this a few years ago, and as you can see, I DIY'd it myself. I was using the paint and baking soda method for painting just to see how it worked, and it wasn't exactly what I liked. So once I realized that I could do a mosaic on it, I was all in it for this. So we're gonna use this and we're gonna use these. So the first step is to break the plates, put it into small pieces, because what I wanna do is I wanna put some in here and then all around here. So let's break them and start gluing them. So I have been trying and trying to break this, but the darn thing does not want to break. I think it's just really thick. So I decided to come outside and try to do it, see if I could. I've tried it with the edge of this. I've tried it with this, even like this. But now that the baby's asleep, I'm just going to try to see if I could do it outside. See if anything happens. So as you could tell, nothing happened at all. So I decided to bring it to the garden to see if I could break it, and what do you know, it was finally able to do it. So yay to that. I am using this for the mosaic just because I wanted to use my husband's grandmother's old dishes when I know for a fact that I could do a really great mosaic. So we're just gonna start with this. I did use a super glue that is from Gorilla Glue to make a longer hold on to this, as well as some hot glue just so I could stick it onto the vase right away. And it actually did a pretty good job. As you could see, I have no rhyme or reason with how I'm putting anything on. So if you decide to do this, just have fun. So far I'm pretty proud of this considering the fact that I've never done this before. But I made a bit of a mistake. So I was using pieces that weren't exactly the same size for some of these things, just trying to use a lot of the plates. But now I want to go through and file some of these areas just to make them a little bit more smooth and even with the other tile areas. So I'm going to put some plaster on here just so I can make it even, just like a regular mosaic. So I'm going to file this a little bit, not a whole lot, and then I'll put on the plaster and we'll be done. I used a basic hand sander to sand this down, and then I realized I really didn't have to sand everything to be the same width on there, all the plates to be the same width. So I just mostly sanded it down so that way it wouldn't be sharp when you were holding it. I used this DryDex and I used 2 coats, kind of. For the second coat, it was mostly touching up where there wasn't the best coverage on it. And when I was done with that, I decided to sand everything, including the plaster, and apply some gold rub and buff to the top just to give it a little bit more class. So you guys, thank you so much for hanging out with me as I made these DIYs. I really enjoyed doing them, especially the vase. I thought that it turned out really well. The one that I was really iffy about was the mosaic, because so many points I'm like, oh gosh, how bad did I mess this thing up? I'm actually really glad that it turned out as good as it did. I was actually impressed with the fact that it turned out so well, because I guess that the plaster or whatever is just really forgiving, and I'm not gonna lie, it probably looks like a first grader did it, but it turned out still okay.
So I'm not upset about that. But I hope that you like what I did with it, and the fact that I am going to still try to put it in my fall decorating, even though most of the time those are supposed to be for like spring and summer. But I am going to try to use it for fall. Put mums or something in it. Maybe pansies, not daisies, pansies, because I know pansies are a winter flower, so which is surprising to me. But anyway, I hope that you enjoyed it. I hope that maybe you got some inspiration out of what I've done. If not, that's fine. I hope that you just enjoyed watching it. And you guys, I hope that if you enjoyed this, that you might consider subscribing, becoming part of my YouTube channel family, and checking out my other videos. I have another one coming up. It's going to be my bedroom makeover, which honestly, I have been excited about this for a very long time. So I can't wait to see you. You guys have a good one, and more videos are coming out. I have Goodwill shopping. I have antique store shopping, as well as some other shopping for, like, I think I'm going to be going to Michael's and Home Goods when I have the time, because that's going to be coming up. I have some DIYs and just decorating. So if you like all that stuff, please consider subscribing, and I will see you later. Bye.